Hello, my name is Jacob Persicom. Using the fear tactic of eternal suffering in hell is not the right way to get people in a relationship with God or Jesus. Jesus was about love and forgiveness. Jesus didn't say, hey, worship me or you're going to suffer for eternity. And eternity of suffering, how can eternity of suffering be justice for about 100 years or less of wrongdoing? If somebody lives their whole life, which is about 100 years or less, doing wrong, doing bad, how can that about 100 years or less earn suffering a punishment that goes on forever? That's not justice. And somebody else taking the punishment for me, that's not justice either. If I do something wrong and somebody else suffers the punishment in my place, that's not justice either. So I'm getting really pissed off with seeing people use this fear tactic. Oh, you're going to suffer for eternity. You're going to go to hell. And against me too. Especially recently where a couple people were trying to use that fear tactic against me, a so-called friend and a relative. I'm not going to say who, but this is just, it's wrong. What did Jesus say about the adulterer? He said, he is without sin, cast the first stone. Jesus was about, he said, forgive 7 times, was it 7 times 7? Just always forgive. He was about love. He wasn't about, oh, you're going to suffer for eternity. And then it's like, you got some of these people that are like, oh, I'm going to be in heaven and I'm going to be in paradise while my friend suffers in hell for eternity. And oh, it's too bad that my friend is going to be suffering in hell for eternity, but I'm going to be happy in heaven. How are you going to be happy in heaven with your friend if that was really true, that you're going to be happy in heaven while your friend suffers for eternity? I mean, how could that even be possible? How could you think that you're gonna be happy in heaven while your friend, somebody that you love and care about, is suffering for an eternity? That doesn't even make any sense. So, I've pretty much moved away from Christianity. I don't identify as a Christian. I identify as a nun. None, nun. I believe we can learn from religions, but I believe that some or all religions get some things wrong. There's a preacher in Kennedy Plaza who's always preaching about hell and, oh, come to Jesus or you're going to suffer, you're going to pay the price, you're going to burn in hell. And, why do you think so many people consider Christianity an abusive cult? Oh, you didn't know that a lot of people consider Christianity an abusive cult? Well, they do. Guess what? They do. There's a lot of people in this world, that to them, Christianity is an abusive cult. That's because there's been people abused severely in the name of Christianity. And one of these toxic, abusive things that a lot of these Christian leaders do is, yeah, you're going to suffer for eternity. Oh, turn to Jesus, worship Jesus. That's not how you get somebody into a loving relationship with God or Jesus. You know, I love Jesus. I love God. I talk with God. You know, from my perception, I feel like I talk with God. Some people may say I'm not really talking to God. It's just another part of me that I'm actually talking to. But whatever, okay? Whatever. It helps me and it guides me. So, you know, I love God. I love Jesus. You know, I love Jesus' teaching about unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness. I love Jesus' teaching about giving to the poor. I hate this. I hate it. I hate this, you know, fear tactic that a lot of these Christians have about eternal suffering in hell. About you're going to go to hell. Believe or you're going to go to hell. If you don't believe the right way, you're going to hell. And this is why I think this is one of the big reasons why a lot of people consider Christianity an abusive cult. So, I mean, I don't identify as a Christian. I love Jesus? Yes. I love God? Yes. A lot of these Christian beliefs I don't believe in. I don't believe Jesus had magical powers that he could, you know, multiply the loaves and the fishes. I believe that was like they embellished. They just took some artistic license to the story and added that. I think all of the stories in the Bible would be considered fiction, would be classified as fiction, not nonfiction. Do I believe that some of the things in there is true? Yes. Do I believe that some of the things are inspired by true stories, or maybe not? Maybe inspired is not the right word, but maybe had some inspiration from true stories? Yes, I believe some of the things in there have inspiration from real things that happened. Do I believe that they would be able to be classified as nonfiction? I don't believe that I don't believe that they would fit into the nonfiction classification, because I think it's too much exaggerated, embellished. There's too much artistic license that went into it. If you take a true story and you change it to a certain amount, you can no longer call that nonfiction anymore. After a certain point, it's no longer classified as nonfiction. At a certain point of exaggeration and embellishment and artistic license, a true story becomes what we call a fiction. It can have true things in it and still be considered a fiction. So I would think I believe that all the stories were exaggerated and changed, and so much so, and that they would not be classified as nonfiction. I mean, people like to make up stories. People like to do make-believe. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, making up a make-believe story. There's nothing wrong with having things in the story that are magical, like Jesus. And then you got some of these Christians will say, oh, if there's any magic in a story, that story is evil. You can't read any story that has magic in it, or you can't watch any TV show or movie that has magic in it. That's evil. Magic is evil. But then again, they'll believe in the stories of Jesus, where Jesus had magical powers, and that's not evil. You know, it's a double standard. Is the word I'm trying to think of. It's a double standard. Jesus can do magic in the Bible, but no story can have magical elements in it. Double standard. Because supposedly what Jesus did was miracles. So, that's my point. If you like this video, please leave it a like. You can subscribe. That would help the channel. Thank you. My name is Jacob Persico. Take care.